Hello and welcome. You're listening to Family Planet365. I'm your host, Malena Jackson, and it gives me great pleasure to be here with you again this beautiful Friday, not early morning, but I would say almost afternoon. We're at 11:09, and today we're going to talk about measures on staying safe in a public place and how to talk to your children about horrific events. Remember last week we were talking about the San Bernardino shootings, and it's something that really it was one of those events that really got me thinking about, when we're out in public places, what are some great ways to protect yourself, or what should you be aware of? And I have today Deputy Drake, who is a local deputy here in Santa Clarita. He's going to be on the line to give us some tips and tricks on what we can do to keep ourselves safe, especially when we are out with our children. Let's see here, we're going to get him on the line, but then the second part of the show will be Dr. Janet Steyer, who is from Child and Family Center here in Santa Clarita, and she's going to talk to us about how to talk to our children about what's going on. Do we let them know what's up, or, should they be watching the news? All those different, the questions, how do these events affect our children today? So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to have Deputy Tom Drake to talk to us about how to stay safe, like at parades and so forth. You're listening to Hometown Station AM 1220 KHTS. Hello and welcome back. You're listening to Family Planet365 on Hometown Station AM 1220 KHTS. I'm your host, Malena Jackson, and today we are talking about how to stay safe in public places, especially when you're with your children. Given today's events, it's good to think about those things. I hope I'm not the only one. Today we have Deputy Tom Drake, who has been a deputy sheriff for over 31 years and has been assigned to the Santa Clarita station since 1993. He is the lead school resource officer for the William S. Hart School District and has worked in our Valley schools for over 15 years. He is responsible for keeping the station's emergency school placement plans current. Welcome, Deputy Drake.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, Deputy Drake, tell me a little bit about some of the measures that you've put in place, or the city has put in place, on keeping our schools safe, because that really, when I just read that, I was like, oh, emergency school safety plans. What's that about? Like, what are the plans?
Well, it's a very cooperative plan involving the individual schools, the school district, the city, law enforcement, and the fire department. So everyone is working together in case there is ever an event at a school site.
Okay, so are there any, ways to tell our children, or things we should tell our children on how to stay safe if there is a shooting on campus, or, if anything should go down while they're away from us?
Well, as rare as it could be, it's always important to talk to your children about safety, earthquake safety during fire drills, lockdown drills, the importance of the drills, and what to do and what not to do if there's an emergency.
Okay. Well, what about when we are attending public events, like you have the parade and what else is there? The concerts in the park. I know you know that there have been open shootings going on, like at the San Bernardino. You're at work and this is happening. And I know there's no way to predict what will happen, but are there any measures that we can put in place as parents when we're out and about in the community with our children? How can we be safe?
Well, your top responsibility would be the safety of your children, so it's always good to start out with situational awareness, always being present about what's going on. If you feel that maybe the situation's becoming unsafe, your best plan is to exit for the safety of your children, go someplace safe.
What if everyone's running around and everything's hectic? How does that work?
Well, that's why some pre-planning is very important in any situation you're at, from a parent to from a parade to a community meeting. While you have a little bit of lull, you can look around and see, where would my exit be? Where is plan B in case I need to go someplace? So if you've done some prior planning, you're less likely to panic in an emergency.
Oh, so planning is the key. I didn't think about that. Okay, so that's kind of like when you go to the movie theater. I always say, okay, there's an exit at the front of the theater, and even on the airplane, they say, okay, here are your exits if you need to exit. So if we plan ahead, then that alleviates the stressors of panicking in case of an emergency. So do we tell our children, hey, we're going to go to this parade? Not that we want to live in fear. I'm always really big about, not being fearful, but being aware. Like you said, we should be aware when we walk into a room or we go to an event. What should we tell our children? So what if we get separated? How does that work in an event of a shooting or a stampede? You name it. You just never know what can happen when you're out in public. How does that work?
It can relate to really any emergency, whether it's a small one or a large one. And again, prior planning is important. Another good idea is to, at the beginning of an event, look at your children, see what clothes they're wearing. Sometimes during an emergency and you get separated and you're questioned by authorities and interviewing, they don't remember what clothes their kids are wearing. It's also a good idea to talk to your children that if there was an emergency event, we're going to establish a code word, that this means this is business, this is important. When I say this word, it means you need to follow whatever I'm doing. It's for our safety. So again, prior planning goes a long way.
Oh, a code word. I like that. Okay. All right. What about at work? Okay, I know you deal with the school systems. How can we be safe at work, Deputy Drake?
Well, your goal is to try to be 100% safe all of the time, and that would incorporate and encompass going to and from your vehicle, in the parking lot, during lunchtime, when you're at your office. And again, prior planning. Role play in your mind. What if there was to be the smell of smoke? What would I do? How would I respond? What if there was an earthquake? Where are my avenues to escape? And again, by thinking about it ahead of time, if an emergency confronts you, at least now you have options.
Okay, so then as a deputy, if someone starts shooting, what should we do? Do you drop to the ground?
Well, the FBI recommends your current philosophy is to run. If any event turns tragic, you want to get away as quickly as possible. Find an escape plan and run. Your next option would be to hide. Remove yourself from the sights of the target. So get low, get to a place, even if it's a broom closet, to get in and conceal yourself. If all of your other options have been exhausted and you're confronted with a life-threatening event, your better option is to fight, meaning push something towards the suspect to get away. And those are your options there. Run, hide, fight, in that order.
Run, hide, fight. Okay, so that's in case of a shooting. And then with the open places, we should have a plan. And I love what you said about the code word with the kids. That means this is business. You use this word, do what I'm doing. Is that what you said? When we're out, tell the kids, get a code word and when we say this code word, do what I'm doing, and this is serious business.
And that would be your safest option. And again, it's important just to talk to your children every now and then, not to frighten them, but to make them aware of different situations. Going to and from school. If they're walking to school by themselves, what would you do if someone drove alongside of them and tried to engage them in conversation? What if somebody walked up to them with a small puppy? Here, do you want to pet the puppy? Let them know that there's a lot of strangers out there. Very few of them are bad, but because of strangers, you need to be aware and to protect yourself ahead of time so you're not put yourself in a bad situation.
Okay, to be aware. Okay, and that's important as well, like for the kids to learn how to be aware when you go into places. Because now, Deputy Drake, get with the series of events. When I go into a mall, like I'm thinking, okay, it's supposed to be a safe place, but you just never know. Even when you're sitting at like the local restaurant, you just never know. And the key here is to have a plan and to be aware of your environment.
Right. Recognize signs of danger. Mm-hmm. Get ahead of time. You've gone over what you need to do to get away, and that's why it's important to see things ahead of time, and then you'll be able to escape the danger.
Okay, I like that.
Also important, if you see something that you think isn't right, especially during the holiday time right now, report it. Call our station 24 hours a day and report something that looks suspicious.
And what number can they use to report suspicious activity?
For routine incidents, you want to call our dispatch, which is 255-1121, and in any emergency, dial 911.
Okay, got that. Repeat that number again, please, Deputy Drake.
255-1121, any emergency, 911.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Deputy Drake. Those are great tips. And if you have any more questions, you can certainly go to the website, lasd.org, to get more tips on how to stay safe in public places. Thank you, Deputy Drake.
Thank you, Malena. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. All right. When we come back, we're going to have Dr. Janet Steyer from the Child and Family Center here in Santa Clarita. She's going to actually talk to us today about what we can say to our children, because Deputy Drake did show us, or tell us that we don't want to instill fear or make them afraid, but we want them to be aware. And that's sort of the dilemma that I have. It's like, how much do you tell? How much do you not tell? Should they be watching the news stories? Of course, my children are in elementary school, so they're aware of what's going on. They don't know the details, but we want to make sure that they know enough to keep themselves safe and to be aware in their environment, because again, you just never know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. When you're in a normal situation, like, going to work should be something you can do safely, but given today and all the rights that we have, some of those rights are abused. So more when we come back. You're listening to Family Planet 365. I'm your host, Malena Jackson. We'll return in a few.